A TomTom satellite navigation unit drizzled in honey. A Helinox chair with crisp, fresh iceberg lettuce. High-end LED fog lights dipped in creamy milk chocolate. Klim jackets sprinkled with free-range goat's cheese. And Schuberth helmets with a naturally sourced cherry on top. This isn't just any adventure bike shop. This is the adventure bike shop. The Adventure Bike Shop.
Rubbish adverts.
Greater adventure.
Hello and welcome to Adventure Bike TV. Now, before we get on with the show, a quick reminder about our competition. You can win a KTM 790 Adventure R, and all you have to do is go to our website and you can enter from absolutely anywhere in the world. Now, as always, it's on with the bike review.
Welds in aluminium can fatigue and fail over time. That's why our panniers are riveted, like aircraft. Metal Mule. Engineered to be different. Proud sponsors of the bike reviews on Adventure Bike TV.
On this month's bike review, we've got a bike that we have never looked at before. In fact, it's a brand we've never looked at before. But it's not just something we've pulled up from the gutter. This is the MV Agusta Turismo Veloce. 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 Veloci. It's this. Now, being an Italian brand, you would certainly expect that this bike is going to look nice. And it is undoubtedly a very, very pretty bike. It reminds me of the Multistrada when I first saw it. And they've obviously spent a lot of time in the wind tunnel because this is all very smooth and there's gaps here and vents here and even a vent just here. However, I'm not quite sure what this one's for. But of course it's underneath the seat, which from the front perspective is very, very comfortable. Now, the looks are great. The problem for me starts just up here at the front. The problem is with the dash. You switch it on, comes up with a nice little graphic, some nice green ticks, and then this happens. The problem is, it looks like someone has taken all the things you could possibly ever want to put on a dash, chopped them up into small pieces, put it into a big bucket, made somebody eat it, and then sick it out on a table, and squished it all into a little pile. Everything's on there, and nothing makes any sense. MV Agusta has updated the Turismo Veloce, and the bike continues to reflect MV's ethos of further faster. MV describe it as a super sport machine that's built for comfort. An interesting choice of words, as I've never thought of any super sport bike as comfortable. Is it even possible to have the two things together? Well, the electronics are certainly race bred. Full multi-map ride-by-wire throttle, 8-level traction control system, and electronic up and down gearbox mated to a hydraulic activated slipper clutch. As I mentioned earlier, this bike has 105 horsepower, but it does feel like quite a lot more, and I think that comes down to the way MV have put a lot of effort into trying to get the torque delivering through the lower parts of the rev range. So for anybody who likes triple engines, you're not going to be disappointed. But the fact there's a triple, for me, means there's some compromises. The people who love the triple like it because in theory you get the torque of a twin with the smoothness of an inline four. And it is very, very smooth, and it is torquey. But for me, you just end up with something that's compromised right in the middle. And it is definitely built for touring. Depending on the model, you'll get 15-litre hard bags, cruise control, heated hand grips, a USB power port, central stand, and a range-friendly 5.7-gallon fuel tank. So the engine is good. Of the 3-cylinder bikes that I've ridden, this is probably my favourite power unit. It's a bit sewing machine-like at lowest revs, but wind it up and it roars like an early morning Serengeti king of the jungle. I've seen a few other comments about the engine being a bit vibey, but I didn't feel it in the slightest. In fact, if anything, it felt uber smooth for a triple, helped in part by the counter-rotating crankshaft, a unique feature in a touring bike. Or so MV tell us. One of the few issues I had was with the slow speed handling. The roads were really wet to start with, but as they dried out and I was able to push a little more, I found the tipping in and out of roundabouts to be just a little bit mushy. Now I'm sure that was more to do with suspension setup than anything inherently wrong. Just goes to show the importance of getting the setup right on a sports-oriented machine. So, as I've spent time looking at this bike today, it's reinforced my first impression that it's a really, really pretty machine, particularly from the back and from the side, but not so much from the front. That plain black plastic is no, it's not so good. But as you go up to the models, that does get a lot better. I think in some ways MV have created kind of a niche here. It's an 800, it's a triple, it's very light, and as long as they got those handling things sorted out, well, probably me to get those sorted out with the suspension, it's a really great bike to ride. So you'd think in theory you should have one. Until you looked at the price. This base bike, a shade under 17 grand. Go to the top of the range, 24,000 eye-watering pounds. If you want panniers on this, it's an extra 3 grand. That would be almost 20 grand. You could get the BMW S1000 XR, you could have the 1290 Adventure, and have tons and tons of change left. So would I have one in my garage? Not a hope, because of the price and because of that damn dashboard.
Our handles are spring-loaded to ensure they don't rattle, reducing noise when riding. Metal Mule, engineered to be different. Proud sponsors of the bike reviews on Adventure Bike TV.
I still cannot get my head around the price you have to pay for that bike, but there you go. Now before the review, I talked about the competition. Here's Sam with all the details.
Hello and welcome to this month's Adventure Bike TV competition. And have we got a competition for you this month? It is our biggest competition to date. Also, there is a new format change. We have first, second and third prizes. That gives you more chances to win. And also, don't forget, you can still win the KTM 790 Adventure R. So, let's get into what you can win this month. First prize is a Klim Carlsbad jacket from the Adventure Bike Shop in your choice of colour. An Adventure Bike TV t-shirt, cap and hoodie with a value of over £730. Second prize is an Exotogg inflatable body warmer from Exotogg, an Adventure Bike TV cap, which is a value of over £121. And lastly, the third prize is a Life Venture RFID Travel Wallet Mini, a Sawyer Mini Filter Kit, an Adventure Bike TV t-shirt for a total value of £65. That gives us a total prize fund this month of over £900. So get in there and start winning. This month we have something special for everyone who enters this competition. When you enter, you will get an email with a discount code for 10% off the Adventure Bike Shop until the end of February. Also, 10% off Exotogg until the end of 2019. Remember, there are T&Cs, so please do remember to check the email when you get it. So, what are you waiting for? Get yourself to the Adventure Bike TV competition page and enter. You can enter as many times as you like. It's only £2. And by the way, did I forget to mention, you can win yourself a KTM 790 Adventure R. So what are you waiting for? Get there, go on.
Now it's time for Tales from the Trails, and if you remember, at the end of the last episode, I was complaining about riding in the sand, and there's every possibility that I still will be.
Today, you will join the Belgium Tet before leaving the route around lunchtime and heading down to one of the best road routes in the country before finishing the night in an Airbnb. Have a good ride, gents.
To be fair, that's quite good because we're combining
Yeah.
off-road and on-road.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, I'm quite excited about it on the little 701. That should be really fun. And a bit of a blast around the roads.
What I'm really excited about is this morning when it's freezing cold, I'll have heated grip.
And I'm really looking forward to doing more sandy trails later this afternoon.
Yes, adore you all of the time. I like
One of the lovely things about following a trail like the Tet, not just the Tet, but a trail like it, is not just the off-road riding, but it just takes you places that you probably would never think of going. And this, like this, I mean, okay, we're not in the middle of some exotic African rainforest, and we're not necessarily up in the middle of, you know, huge mountains, but it is really, really pretty. And I've never found this if I'd been doing anything other than riding the Tet and doing the trails and spotting this kind of place for lunchtime. As we said right at the start, you know, an adventure is what you make it.
The afternoon consisted of dusty roads and grassy trails. The sun was out and the colours of the autumn leaves were stunning, if not a bit annoying when they covered the trail, hiding all the bumps and dips. After having a quick look at the sat-nav, we have now arrived in a place called Tongeren. We were heading towards the nice route and figured out it was a bit too late, and the guys at base didn't take into account the amount of time we'd take to do filming. So we've stopped here to pick up some food, which Graham is going to cook for us tonight. And tomorrow we're going to hit the road route hard, so we'll be looking forward to that. So fingers crossed we don't get food poisoning tonight, and yeah, should be good fun tomorrow.
Graham, do you have any comments on Sam's thoughts of food poisoning tonight?
I'm slightly offended actually. There's no my cooking at all.
You sure you want him as a presenter on the show, or?
We might just go hungry tonight.
We have woken up in this quaint little town in
Belgium.
Somewhere.
That's as much as I know.
Yeah.
We're in Belgium.
There is a chocolate factory just down the road though, so yeah.
Yep, and I got a text through just a few minutes ago explaining what it is we're going to be doing today. So here we go. Hello boys, we've got some great road riding ahead of you today. You'll start your day by visiting the highest point in Belgium. Well, that's not going to be very high, is it?
I don't know.
Bear in mind how flat it's been.
I know, but it will probably surprise you because we're quite close to the German border here.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So
see, Belgium keeps coming out with surprises. You think it's flat as a pancake.
There's going to be a mountain.
There's going to be a mountain.
I doubt it's a mountain. But
a high point.
A high point.
Yeah. But be aware that there will be a bit of a trek to get there, which would be nice. And then onto the Spa racetrack, where we have not got you access. Nice. But hey, you never know. What were you expecting? This isn't Top Gear.
Really?
What did you sign up for?
Yeah, I know.
Then into your night stay, which, please remember, was picked to ensure you experience an adventure in Belgium and not for your comfort. That sounds ominous. Here's a web address so you can find details.
Okay, and I've pulled up the web address. Immersed in nature, chalet with amazing view, where you can park your camping car or pitch your tents. But there is no electricity, no water, no bathroom, no toilets.
Dubious about our accommodation for the night, and with a slightly heavy heart because there would be no off-road tet riding today, we headed off to find the tallest point in Belgium.
So we are at, well, we're at the bottom of the highest point in Belgium. So now we've got to start the trek, which is, it's a lot of stairs, to be fair.
Yep.
So I guess this is like their Ben Nevis. This is the thing where everyone had their pictures taken.
Yeah, right, it could be an hour at least to go up there, do you reckon?
I don't know.
Fair bit. There was a possibility of reality not quite being the same as the expectation.
Yeah, a bit of a letdown.
Yeah, crushing disappointment, I thought. To use words of somebody who does stuff with cars.
Yeah.
It wasn't high, and in fact it's a complete lie because it's not the highest point at all. There's a tower next to it, which is much higher, that people were sitting in the top of.
So, after watching a few rally cars go by to cheer us up, we had a coffee and I came up with a plan. Right, seeing as I'm I am a new presenter on Adventure Bike TV, I thought I'd make a statement and step out from Graham's shadow by introducing a little bit of fun. So I've brought these to adorn his helmet, which he so kindly left here while he was urinating.
Is it me?
Oh, do you know what? It's so you.
Is it a beautiful look? I think in comparison to the tallest point in Belgium, this is a highlight of my day so far. We weren't expecting to be able to get into the Spa circuit, not even in the slightest. And Sam's got the answer.
Yeah. I use my charm and wit to get myself in.
Along with everybody else who's allowed in as well, not just to be on the Eau Rouge corner, where I've just watched so many Formula 1 Grand Prix for the last 30 years. It's really quite exciting, I think. For me, one of the most important things about adventures is finding the unexpected, and it was unexpected to be able to get into the Spa racetrack, and it's just been amazing. Not only are we here, we're actually watching cars racing as well. Couldn't have had a better afternoon, really. After watching the cars at Spa, but sadly not being able to get on the track ourselves, Belgium had yet another welcome surprise. It was definitely a case of the hills being alive with the sound of bike engine music and happy helmet voices as we explored the twisty roads around Spa in the province of Liège.
After some great riding, we arrived at our cabin, bedding down for the night under the stars.
Now it's time for a quick break, and afterwards we'll be hearing from Sam with the second-hand bike review.
Klim Jackets, sprinkled with free-range goat's cheese. The Adventure Bike Shop.
Rubbish adverts.
Great adventure.
Hi, my name's Gary Smith. I'm proud to be one of the Metal Mule ambassadors. I've been using hard panniers and Metal Mule panniers for several years now, and find them definitely the best on the market. They're strong, robust. They've saved me a number of times when I've fallen off the bike. They're waterproof and easy and secure to use on a day-to-day basis.
High-end LED fog lights dipped in creamy milk chocolate. The Adventure Bike Shop.
Rubbish adverts.
Great adventure.
It's time for the second-hand bike review. So, Sam, if you're listening, the key word there being second, as in not first, being the first presenter who does the first brand new bikes. On you go.
Welcome to the second-hand bike review. Today we have something very special for you. Let me set the scene for you. It's 2005, BMW have just released the HP2 Enduro, which is setting the Enduro world alight. There is a legendary rivalry between BMW and another brand. And that other company is, of course, KTM. And of course, KTM were not going to be beaten in the off-road arena by BMW. What did KTM do? Well, rumour has it they locked their top engineers in a room, plied them with alcohol, and gave them the week to come up with something to beat it. So what did they come up with? Well, it's this. The abominable KTM 950 Super Enduro. What most people believe is that this bike is based on the 950 Adventure, but in reality, it's actually based on the 950 Supermoto. So, what KTM have done is they've taken the frame from a Supermoto, the engine from the Adventure, married it together, and made this incredible enduro machine. Today, we're lucky enough not to have just one of these bikes, but two. This being the stock one, and over here, something a bit special, this one, owned by Alan. Hi Alan.
Hello.
Well, Alan, tell me about this magnificent bike.
Yeah, thanks. Well, I've taken a Super Enduro and really changed it to suit my style and my riding and preferences. I've modified the suspension, I've added a steering stabilizer, lights and a fairing that accommodate rally navigation gear for my recreational rally, as well as my travel with my sat nav. More comfy seat, because let's face it, I do like to spend a lot of time on it. An engine guard to make sure that It stays safe and in one piece.
And these engine guards, this is your company?
Some of this stuff,
Yeah?
yeah. So Triple Clamp was born out of our desire to modify the bikes to suit us. And so some of the products that are on this bike are designed and made entirely by us.
Right, okay, fantastic. So, I mean, in terms of both bikes, do they ride differently? What's...
Well, I mean, the
take
Super
on it?
Enduro is pretty bonkers to begin with
Yeah,
for most. And so I like to think I've taken that to a bit of a different level. This one certainly is not for the faint of heart or the vertically challenged. It's quite a bit taller, and it's got a lot more grunt with the modified mufflers and some of the tuning to the carburetors. I'd say that's a fantastic bike to ride all round.
Yeah.
This is a little more focused, a little more of a handful.
Right, okay. And you're riding, what is it you focus on? Is it mainly rally for this bike? Rally events, or... I mean,
it's actually a bit of everything. I use this to commute to work.
Oh, right, okay.
And then on the weekends, I'm either riding the local lanes or as far as continental European travel through the Pyrenees and some of the rallies. And when I do that, I change out some of this equipment for the rally roadbook gear.
Okay.
And then I've got my switches and buttons ready for that there.
Okay, fantastic. If someone was looking to buy one, what would you say are the things they should be looking out for?
Well, I think people need to be prepared, because while this was a sales failure for KTM in the first couple of years, it became quite the cult bike. And that's driven prices up high. But when looking at it, I would look for, obviously, low mileage, high level of maintenance records, and a few gotchas. You know, there are some weaknesses. The subframes tend to crack if abused or carrying too much luggage. Rims can bend, oil pans and tanks can get damaged from crash. But apart from that, they're quite venerable.
Fantastic. So, Alan, which one am I riding?
Well, I'm riding my bike.
Really? Is there any way I can maybe change your mind? How about rock, paper, scissors?
All right.
All right, let's go. Ready? Okay, right. Let me see. I think I'll choose this one.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Right, let's ride. Okay, so despite winning rock, paper, scissors, I spent most of the day on the factory spec machine and let Alan ride his rally beast. Now, let's be honest, Windsor isn't exactly a haven for off-road riding, so I didn't really get to push either machine to their limits. But before you ask, we are hoping to do a head-to-head between the BMW HP2 and the KTM 950 Super Enduro at Sweetland. So, keep your eyes peeled, but back to the bike. Basically, the bike is, well, basic. It embodies the minimalist design that runs throughout the bike. It's equipped with twin carbs, so no fuel injection here, no ABS, no fuel gauge, and no rev counter either. But what you do get, as Mr. Clarkson would say, is power. Loads and loads of power. Of course, the V-twin delivers this power instantly to the back wheel. In some ways, it's like a two-stroke. The throttle is more an on-off button. After its relatively short production run, and let's be honest, piss poor sales performance, you might think it'd be resigned to the annals of history. But no, the Super Enduro has achieved cult status, and I can see why. It's a crazy bike, but crazy in a good way, and you don't have to take my word for it. It was described as the best hooligans bike KTM ever made by none other than Chris Birch himself. One of the biggest surprises for me was how good it was on the road. It's not his natural home at all, but be very tentative on that throttle. It doesn't take much for the front end to pop up and say hello. Off-road was a different story. With all that power, no weight to keep it on the ground, I was kind of expecting this to be a bit of a fight to keep it upright and going where I needed it to go. But again, it surprised me. It felt planted, controllable, and well, really good. You simply need to aim the bike where you want to go and have a little faith. It will get you there in one piece. However, if you're riding one of these, bear in mind that aggressive throttle and try and keep your front wheel on the ground, because, let's face it, you can have all the faith in the world, but you still need to steer. What can I say about the KTM 950 Super Enduro? Well, it's a bit of a mixed bag. How can I put it? It's a bit like a wolf in sheep's clothing. If the sheep's clothing was a face mask and a chainsaw, this bike is brutal, it's visceral, it connects you to the bike. It's a bit of a Frankenstein, I've got to say. It's got the body of an enduro and a heart of an adventure bike. The question is, would I take this around the world? Of course you can, no problem. But when you've got the 950 and 990 Adventure, why would you? So my answer to that question is no. But I want one. I want one for my garage because it's the best fun you'll have on a big bike. And on that note, we'll see you next month.
Great job. Thank you very much, Sam. Now it's time for Under the Visor.
Don't ride here. Ride here. Explore new horizons with Moto Freight. Proud sponsors of Under the Visor.
Hi, my name is Alun and I'm with Triple Clamp Moto, originally from Canada, and I've been in the UK for a year and a half. Been riding for about a decade, and I ride a KTM 950 Super Enduro. I've always been a petrol head, though spent most of my life in love with cars, and always had an affinity for motorcycles. So about 10 years ago I started riding road bikes and then quickly learned about off-road and adventure, and I've stuck to it since. Yeah, so Triple Clamp Moto was a vision of a couple of friends and I. We would spend the Canadian winter spannering on our bikes in the winter and the rest of the time buying things or on forums, and eventually decided that we would try a hobby business and start building parts to help with deficiencies on bikes, close the gaps, add endurance and durability to the bikes and performance. It's been really exciting and a really big passion of ours. We have a very simple approach at design. We've got to make something better or cheaper than something else, otherwise we won't do it. Sometimes you get both. But we're not interested in doing the same things that others do, and certainly respect their originality and design approaches. Part of what's near and dear to me is keeping certain bikes alive as they get older. The Super Enduro, the 950, 990 Adventures are of particular interest to me. Sure, we cater to the newer bikes as well, but I've got a special place in my heart for these older bikes. I've done a lot of travel. Again, with the Canadian winters, that type of travel tended to be flying higher in exotic places, the Southwest US, even South America. And then in summers, I've traveled to the Nordics and flying higher. But the one thing that has always stuck with me, no matter how much I enjoyed the trips, is coming home thinking, wish I did that on my own bike. And so coming over to the UK and having Europe at our back door has been a fantastic opportunity, and I've traveled a lot with a bike, both within the UK and the continental Europe. Yeah, so this past May, did a trip with 9 other guys through the Spanish Pyrenees, and we rode there from here. And I think it was the third or fourth day through the Pyrenees on one of the mountains, we stopped off at a small village for some lunch. And while we were resting, a German couple came into town with 2 donkeys. We couldn't help but to notice that there was a Garmin sat-nav attached to one of the donkeys' necks, and they both donned panniers. And so, as interested as we were, we had no choice but to engage with them and ask them what was going on. It turns out you're able to hire donkeys for about 15 euros a day. The donkeys carry your kit, and they know where they're going. When you stop to eat lunch, they run off and graze, and so it was this couple's trip that was taking them through the Pyrenees over the course of 2 weeks. I just found that so inspiring, not just to be able to take in the same landscape, but to experience it very differently. And I think that's, for me, that's what motorcycle travel is about. It's that visceral feeling, that connection with the world and the elements, both good and bad, that you don't get in a car. You know, a lot of people have asked me that question. The year and a half that I've been here, I've been fortunate to travel to many parts of the UK and continental Europe for the riding. There's a lot of spectacular riding. I think the biggest difference for me, however, is I live in Windsor, which is a relatively small city, and in Toronto, in Canada, I lived in Toronto, which is a large city, surrounded by suburbs, which I would have to ride through to get to country. The riding there, I think, is quite different than here. I could ride for an hour to get out of the city and hit the trails and be able to ride all day long without ever touching any tarmac. I could stay in wooded trails, I can go out on gravel roads, through sand fields and many other types of terrain. What I found here, at least locally to me and in the south, is the lane system is quite limited and quite protected. It's a very different approach, and I've got a lot of appreciation and respect for organizations like the TRF who help keep lanes open, but the riding's quite different. The muddy ruts, the chalk, especially in the wet, I've never ever ridden in anything like that in my life. So I've learned a new level of respect for the riders here. But it's quite interesting to be able to ride a half a mile of a lane and then have to make your way through 2 miles of tarmac only to find a 500-foot long section of lane and connect all those as a ride. I don't think that's true for all of the UK. I've done some riding in Wales and in the north, and that's quite different. But you don't get that sense of adventure in the same way as you do in open spaces like in Canada, where I could very easily ride an entire day and not see another soul. Of course, you don't have grizzlies and you don't have mosquitoes, and the winter here is a dream. So it's got its pros and cons, but definitely very different. Well, I'm actually hoping that if timing works out, I'd like to enter into Hellas this May. I think it's a very challenging and interesting rally. I've got a few mates who are going, and it would be great. Apart from that, Triple Clamp and I will be at the LC8 Western Alps Rally and the Hard Alpi Tour in Italy in September. I think the best way to find out more about us is our website, which is tripleclampmoto.com. We've got a sizable presence on Facebook and a number of groups, but we've got our own Facebook page, Triple Clamp Moto. If you care to visit that, you'll see a lot of photos and videos. My partner recently attended all of Dakar. There's a lot of exciting behind-the-scenes stuff on there, so please feel free to browse. I live in Windsor. I love working on the bikes as much as I love riding on them. I love meeting people like-minded and very social. So do connect with me directly or through our site.
Don't ride here. Ride here. Explore new horizons with Moto Freight. Proud sponsors of Under the Visor.
It is time for InfoHub, and unfortunately we don't have top riding tips this month. Not because we've stopped, it's because the ground was frozen so hard up at Sweet Lamb that even Molly said it was unrideable and exceptionally dangerous. But do not worry, it will be back.
Hi there and welcome to Meals on Two Wheels. Today we've got the challenge of making Welsh cakes because it's St David's Day, yay! And yes, this is going to be my adaptation of Welsh cakes. I have been trying to play around with this a little bit, so we'll see how we get on, but in essence, because people don't normally take butter with them on a motorbike, which is quite understandable, I'm going to be making it with a base of oil and some other ingredients which hopefully will make it nice and flavoursome. So apologies to any Welsh people out there if I do offend them with my crude Welsh cake kind of make, but let's see what we can come up with. So let's have a look at the ingredients that I have. First things first, I have 225 grams worth of flour, self-raising flour, 75 grams of caster sugar, 1 egg, some raisins, we've got some mixed spice, and also some spicy chai tea. The other thing that we've got as well is some oil. Now we're going to be using around about 55 grams, which is about 1/3 of a cup of oil in there. First things first, grab a bowl, chuck in your flour. Then next thing is putting in your sugar, mixed spice, chuck that in. I like a good tablespoon, let's say, of that. Mix it all up. You can see. Get it all mixed in there. There we go. So now that's all mixed in. Next thing, we're going to get the oil. Now, if you can get your hands on 110 grams of butter, do it and use it at this point. So I'm going to be using 1/3 of a cup. Let's start off with that. See how we get on. Pour it in. And this is where it gets a little bit messy. Mix it all in. And then, just using your fingers, just start kind of breaking it into breadcrumbs. There you go, mixing it all in. Oh, it's going to be a messy day today. I love this. Reminds me of when I was a kid making cakes at home. As you can see, the texture there, it's kind of crumbly. Most of the mix has gone in. You don't really want to over mix it. You're kind of like making a shortbread mixture. I don't know if anyone's made shortbread mixture. Crumble, crumble. Belly rumble. Right. Next thing, gonna mix up my egg. Oh, there's such a chill in the air. I'm so cold. Whisk it up. Put your egg in there. Ooh, gloopy. And again, get your hands in, get a bit mucky, mix it all in. You don't want it to be too sticky, because the whole point is it's quite crumbly. You want that crumbleness to it. Is crumbleness a word? Let's go with crumbleness. So before I go any further, just want to let you know that I haven't forgotten the raisins. It's just Tom isn't a massive fan of raisins, so I'm going to make a couple of little Welsh cakes for him without raisins and then chuck them in. But ordinarily, I would put the raisins in at the same time that I'm putting the oil in. What we're doing is just grabbing a small handful. Now they are crumbly, so, don't freak out at the fact that they are looking slightly crumbly. This is going to be my make-do rolling pin. And you'll see it all crumbles out, but don't worry, that's perfect. That's how you want it to be. The next I'm going to do is with raisins. Now I should probably explain this. All I got was some packet raisins, chucked them into a Tupperware thing, and I made myself a nice cup of chai tea the night before. I like doing this with chai to make Welsh cakes, but if you want to jazz up some fruit and you don't want to use chai tea, you can always put some whiskey on it or some brandy, and then you can have yourself some nice alcoholic cakes, which is also just as good. Right, so I am relatively happy with them. They're quite crumbly, but I'm quite happy with them. We'll leave that aside and we're going to start cooking them. And yeah, then we can have ourselves a couple of baked Welsh cakes. So, stove. Little Pocket Rocket Deluxe. God, I love this stove. It's amazing. Simply the fact you don't actually need to do anything but turn. So put that on. You want your pan to warm up. You want it on to kind of like a low to medium heat. Okay, so that's got warm enough. So what I'm going to do, let's just put one of Tom's and one of mine then. And just let that cook on a medium heat. Now they should take about 3 to 4 minutes. So I'm just going to turn this one over. See, look at that. That's the kind of nice browniness that you want. If you don't want to celebrate Welshy stuff, celebrate Valentine's Day and make your other half some cake. Good old cake. Or if you don't have another half, give yourself some self-loving and cake. I didn't mean that. Oh, mine looks so good. Cover them in caster sugar. Flick it behind your head, whatever you do. And voila! You have yourself Welsh cakes. I'm going to tuck into my one. Like I say, they're not quite typically Welsh cakes because they're not made with butter, but like I said, who cares as long as they taste good. Look at that. So they're not quite, they're not doughy. They've got nice juicy bits in it. Let's give that a try. Oh my god, I'm good. Drum roll. Welsh cakey?
Yeah, you can taste the cinnamon.
Right?
That's really nice.
Love and peace and all that jazz. Bye! Cake.
This month's top tech is the Exotogg. The Exotogg is the perfect example of trying to find a totally new solution to a problem, and in this case the problem is being cold on a motorbike. There is no way to get away from the fact that this looks like a black life vest from a plane, but looks can be deceiving. The Exotogg is a lightweight inflatable body warmer designed to go under your motorcycle jacket, at which point you inflate it with just a few puffs of air to give you an insulated layer which will not be affected when it gets wet. Overall, this took some getting used to, but we found the key is to only inflate it a little and not blow yourself up so you look like the Michelin Man. The upshot is that it does work and we felt warmer with it on. We did, however, have one worry, and that's the tube for the inflation of the vest. With a rucksack on, it actually still felt okay, but with a lot of weight in the sack, I imagine it would start to become a nuisance. Overall, if you had a lower end jacket with a rubbish liner for warmth, replacing it with this makes total sense. We gave it 4 out of 5, just because of the possible rucksack issues. And if you want one, they're giving 10% off to all the Adventure Bike TV viewers. Just go to exotogg.com and enter the code ABTV10.
Hi there and welcome to this episode of Pitch Up.
Hello, we're going to be looking at sleep systems going forward, and we're going to start with sleeping mats. Now there are loads and loads and loads of different types of sleeping mats.
Tons.
And they kind of start down the bottom end with those kind of standard foam ones that are a bit like yoga mats. Kind of thing you'd used to take to a scouts meeting or a guides meeting.
Yes.
Completely useless for travel, far too big.
Yep.
Then you kind of move up to the self-inflating ones that have foam in them, and you open the valve and they inflate slowly by themselves. You put a couple of extra puffs in just to get up to the firmness you like.
I have to admit, I like them.
Yeah, and to be fair, they tend to be, in my experience, probably the best value for money. They're pretty small, they're pretty warm, they do the job quite well, and they're not overly expensive. They start from around, for a half decent one, about 40 quid, and you go up to kind of 100, maybe 200 for a real high-end one.
Yep.
And then there's all sorts of other ones, like if you're going somewhere really cold, you get one of the down-filled ones.
Yeah, they got
amazing.
like a fleecy top to them and
Yeah,
stuff as well.
oh,
But
they're
they're like
fantastic.
really bulky, aren't they?
Yeah, huge
Not
things.
great for motorcycle travel.
But so we've kind of come up with what we think are some of our favourites today. We brought our favourite ones along.
I know, all ones that we've been using that we like. There's loads out there. To be fair, I like a whole range of them, but I've picked one that I think is quite special.
But before we do that, we need to talk about our rating.
We do. So when you're picking your sleeping mat, one of the most important things to be looking at, along with kind of like the comfort and thickness of it and everything like that and the size, is the R value of it. The R value, it just basically in essence tells you what temperature it's ideal to use at, be it cold or not. I think the value of it starts at what?
So the scale starts at 0.5 and goes to 5.5. Don't know why.
Bit weird.
0.5 is for 16 degrees centigrade. So it's basically your summer. It'll add no warmth to anything. You wouldn't want to use it in anything other than nice warm weather.
Nope.
Then it goes right down to your 5.5, which is minus 40.
I know, that's pretty cold, which is minus 40 both in Celsius and Fahrenheit.
It is. I told you that earlier. Don't
I know, right?
Pass off that you knew that.
It makes me sound intelligent. No, I never knew that was a thing. But anyway, I learned something new today, so just sharing the love.
So we've both gone for our own kind of picks, and it looks like we've both picked Thermarest.
I know, right?
I know.
So my one is the Thermarest Uberlight, which it is. Feel that.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that is.
Isn't that ridiculous?
That's like a phone, isn't it?
I know. I swear my phone weighs heavier than that. So yeah, this is a very tiny. I think it's like 25 grams in weight. It's got an R value of 2, which means it's great up to about 0 degrees, which, warm weather travel, that's kind of the ideal thing for it. I would take this for medium kind of length journeys because it's not as hard wearing as some of the larger ones that you can get, but because it's so small and compact, if I was doing like a solo trip or something like that and I didn't have much space, this is superb. And the thickness of it when you blow it up is, is that what I think?
I'm not telling you what it is.
Okay. It's 2.5 inches, which is ridiculously thick. It's brilliant. We'll have a look at it when we blow it up. But yeah, which one have you got?
So I've got the Neo Air X Lite. So yeah,
it is. It's the same thickness as that then.
It's the same thickness as yours, and it's a bit bigger, but it's still
it's still
really
tiny,
small.
and it's like an extra gram in weight or something stupid.
Yeah.
It's like
it's fantastic, and it has a few extra bonuses over yours.
It does.
First of all, it's a lot more durable.
Yeah. So yours is what's yours? 30 D ripstop, whereas mine's 15.
So it's double.
Yeah.
And the other thing it has is it is rated to a 3.2 R value.
What's that temperature-wise again?
Minus 14, minus 16.
Which isn't too bad.
Not too bad at all.
Just whilst mentioning that, as a side note, ladies always pick something that's a lot cooler than what you would ordinarily think. So if you're traveling somewhere and it's going to be 0 degrees, then go for something that's -6 type thing, because us ladies get a little bit colder at night. So just remember that you are going to be colder. So have you got like the regular size?
I've got the regular. The other thing
me
that
too.
makes this warm is it has a reflective layer inside. So, I mean, nothing that you can see, it's not like mirrored or anything like that.
Yeah.
But inside, you can kind of feel, it's almost like that space material that you know after you've been done a marathon, they wrap you up in those silver foil.
Yeah.
It's basically that kind of thing that's in here, and what it does is it's reflecting the heat back inside it to keep the heat in there.
That's pretty
cool.
cool.
Meaning that any kind of cold coming through from the floor is reflected away, and any heat coming from above is reflected back up.
Am I right in saying it's like the triangular kind of setup inside of it, like the reflecting thing?
In terms of the kind of, if you like,
composition of it,
that kind of inflate. It has
like a little
triangular baffles.
It's the same as this, I think. Yeah.
It stops too much loss through ambient heat.
Yep.
Which is good,
so both of these, brilliantly, are super light and really great for motorcycle travel. I think yours is probably more suitable if you're going for like really long term with a variety of different temperatures traveling through.
Yeah, I think if I was doing a round the world one, I'd rather go for something else. Just because if you're going to be taking it out, inflating it, and then every morning rolling it away, and you're doing that for days and days and days on end,
you're going to feel more confident, are you?
The stronger, kind of more hardy material.
Yeah. Whereas, like I said, this I think is great for long weeks, long weekends. through hikes type, just quick journeys that you're going to do. I think it's brilliant, but I think it's worth blowing it up and having a look at it blown up. Who do you reckon? Do you reckon you can do it quicker?
Yeah.
Without passing out?
Yeah.
Go on then.
Okay, so we've blown up our mattresses. Okay, so my Neo Air, I've already managed to get a bit of mud on.
Ooh.
So yeah, the Neo Air X-Lite is, it just feels more substantial than yours, and actually you can feel the crinkle of that reflective layer inside.
Yeah, you can.
Let's compare thicknesses as well. I mean,
they're both exactly the same thickness, so they're 2.5 inches. Have a look at that. They are awesome when it comes to thickness. Really great comfort.
These are not by any means your cheapest option, but if you are heading around the world, you don't want to be skimping on kit. You want to have the best kit you can get, the stuff that's going to last you.
Yeah.
And again, a good night's sleep is so massively important.
It's hugely important. So yeah, these are our recommendations. There are plenty out there as well to definitely look at.
And please let us know if you've got any other suggestions, kit that you think's good or you'd recommend. Put it in the comments below or drop us a mail and we can have a chat about it.
Exactly. I have to admit, before I go any further, I do like the Nemo ones as well, but you can only really pick them up in America.
I haven't seen the Nemo's ones.
That's because you can only pick them up in America.
That'd be why.
So all American friends, Nemo Air Mats, they're definitely ones to consider as well. They're a great player in the game, but to be honest, it's not much difference. Not much difference.
Cool.
Anyway.
Okay, well next time we're going to be having a look at sleeping bags.
Yes.
So we will see you back here next month.
Bye.
Well, that was the show. As always, I hope you enjoyed it. If you keep watching for just a couple more minutes, you'll see all the best of our outtakes. Please remember to enter the competition and please share it amongst all your friends. We will see you next month.
What I quite like to do is end the show.
Floating light. Floating light.
Are you okay?
It's been a long day. It's been a long week. It's been a long year so far. I've been only 3 weeks into it.
So, what KTM have done? I'm looking at him.
You know why he's looking at you? Because you turned and looked at him. He's thinking that was all right until you turned.
I got it right.
Come on, even I get this.
This acting business is nuts.
Making pancakes, making Welsh cakes, yeah. Making David Welsh cakes. David. Toast David. Only people watching Arch will understand that. Hi there and welcome to this month's Pitch Up.
Hello. This month we are going to be talking about sleep systems. Specifically at this point, we're going to be talking about, sorry, I just realised I've been watching way too much Gordon Ramsay. Because I was literally just going, now, what we need to do...
Sleeping mat, comfort, sleep, finish.